This is Qais Ghanem. I'm at the North Gower Farmers Market, and I am talking to a famous author in the Ottawa area, and that's Emily-Jane Orford, Hills Orford. She has numerous books, and one of them in particular she is showing here this farmers market this morning, and she is going to tell us about her career as an author and other things. A little bit about yourself. You started off as what?
I started off as a young person interested in writing stories. I've always written stories. I come from a long line of storytellers.
Okay.
Everybody in my family loved to tell stories. As the youngest in the family, it was very difficult to get a word in edgewise. So I took my stories and wrote them down on paper.
And how old were you when you wrote your first story?
As soon as I could write, I was writing stories.
You mean when you were 6?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
And my mother saved most of them. I have an envelope at home that has some of my stories from when I was really young.
Okay. And how many books have you written altogether? I'm sure there are numerous, right?
I have 17 books published.
Yes. Okay.
And several in the works.
All right. So out of these 17, how many are novels?
I have 4 novels.
Okay.
Spring, summer, autumn, and winter.
Yes. And you also write cookery books, don't you?
I write about cooking for people with different food allergies, so alternate recipes, people with alternate diets. I have a grave concern with some of the things that are put into our food products that we buy at the store, so I've created ways of making things that are still delicious, and that's why I called it Still Delicious.
And you also appear on television shows.
Yes, I do.
I've seen you a couple of times. Okay, and what other books do you write other than those?
I like to write stories about real people.
Yeah.
People like you and I, because I believe we all have stories to tell. I've written my mother's story, my grandmother's story.
Let's have a look at the book covers as you tell me about that.
This is my mother's story.
Okay.
No.
The other one you said about your grandmother.
Yes, this is my grandmother's story. Personal notes.
Okay.
And this was the title on the cover of one of her little notebooks that she kept her journal. She kept a journal for every day of her life, and that helped me when I was writing her stories. And then The Whistling Bishop is the story of Jamie Clark, who was Bishop of the Arctic, and when he retired he became Bishop of the Armed Forces. Everywhere he went he whistled. And
I see that you now have the latest book that just came out. When did this book come out?
Just last week.
Last week, good. Okay.
So it's very recent, very much hot off the press.
All right. And it's about a certain dog.
It's about our family dog. His name is Duke.
Yes.
He has quite a name to live up to. And he has to demonstrate that in his actions. And I'm hoping it's going to be an inspirational story for others to realize that they have to live up to the best of their potential. It's also a message to people to take care of their pets, not to abuse them, because they are important members of our families. And before we adopted Duke, he was in a very abusive situation. And we noticed certain signs after we adopted him that indicated this. So I wanted to tell his story, but I also wanted to get the message across that it is important to take care of our animals. They're part of our entire ecosystem.
Yes. So have you always had the love of animals?
I've always loved animals. I was not allowed to have pets when I was growing up. So in total I've had 2 dogs in my entire life.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not giving me the book. You realize this is going live, viral. Do you want to wait for it? Do you want to? Sure. Please.